Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network, where we present the championship race of the Cup Series. We've gone 19 weeks already. It is time for that final week 20. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Aaron Gerwitz, matching wits with Gerwitz himself. How's it going tonight, Aaron?
Oh, it's another night in paradise up here.
Man, it is a great night. We are so pumped up about tonight. Everybody's been waiting on this finale. We want to see who is going to be the grand champion of it all.
And yes, there's a lot of talented drivers up here in the Cup Series, and unlike the Xfinity and the Truck where we have faster pairs, they don't up here, so that's going to be a big thing to watch for tonight.
No, and it's a little bit of a longer race also because, 150 laps here, and we've seen a lot of green flag racing in both of the first two series that we've had here. So the Truck Series did great. Xfinity Series did wonderfully as well. So I really expect to see a lot of green flag racing tonight here, Aaron.
And that's exactly what I expect to see as well, Sean.
Well, let's take a look and see what our league details look like. And this is basically a league that people are paying $15 a week to get into. And 20 weeks, fixed setups, so no fast repairs. And then, of course, we do give out weekly and season-long payouts. And that big, huge prize right there, $1,000. Aaron, what do you think?
That's a heck of a lot of money. We were racing for 500 in the Xfinity Series, but that 1,000 is just another added bonus to this whole iRacing thing.
Oh, yeah, it is absolutely massive. And these guys, they are just really, really revved up, ready to go. Now, I will tell you, we do have about 17 guys on the track right now. So not a huge field, but that just promotes that green flag racing even more. And so just be on the lookout. We might get some really, really great racing here tonight.
And absolutely, you're right there. We should get some really, really great racing. Predicting very long runs, not too many cautions, and just a lot of green flag pit stops. So it's going to come down to strategy.
Well, man, all season long, or actually all postseason, you've been doing a great job with this matching wits with Gerwitz, and you were able this time to catch up with the league president himself, Jason Tripp, and Jason is going to talk a little bit about what's going on for Season 2. So let's jump right into matching wits with Gerwitz here.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the sad point of the season as Speed Racing Network's 2021 Season 1 is coming to an end. We got our last championship race tonight, and you know what that means. The last matching wits with Gerwitz tonight. And we have the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Tripp himself on tonight. Jason, how are you today?
I'm good, Aaron. How are you?
Very good. Just give us kind of a backstory on how this league all started. We all know it started with Mid-South Madness and kind of how you guys branched out to Speed Racing Network.
Yeah, so the story's been told a couple different times. I know Setzer covered it a few weeks back where I was out to dinner with the wife and I had made a comment on a Facebook post regarding iRacing, and Corey Knight, who I work with, we work for the same company. He reached out to me. He said, "Hey, are you on iRacing?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And we should get together and start a league. I said, "Okay, we can do that." So we talked about it and decided that that's what we were going to do. And then, we formed Mid-South Madness, which started out as it was all free tracks, all free cars. There was no payware, nothing like that, right? And we went in there and a bunch of guys didn't know what we were doing. We wrecked each other. We did a bunch of crazy stuff, right? And then that morphed into, we wanted to do something a little bit more on the serious side, have a little bit of money involved in it, put a little bit of a prize pool together. Turned into looking for it. Man, it'd be cool if we were broadcasted, and started saying, okay, how much are broadcast? Who broadcasts? When can we look into that type of stuff? Team SRN actually formed as Speed Racing Network itself formed as a team that was going to run in leagues, and we were going to do stuff and help each other with building sets and things of that nature, right? Well, then when it turned into SRN, it was originally Speed Racing Incorporated. And when we went to register the business in the state of Tennessee, where the business is registered as an LLC, they wouldn't let us use Inc. in the name. So on the spot, it was changed to Speed Racing Network, which was only going to be a broadcast function of the company. Well, that's kind of taken over as our one of our main deals is the broadcast, but we only broadcast leagues that we as a management run, because we want to do them at the level that they need to be done. And we can't do that if we spread ourselves too thin. So essentially that's how Speed Racing Network came to be. And it morphed from Speed Racing Incorporated all the way to Speed Racing Network. And Mid-South Madness season 2 actually was the first season that we did broadcasting, and that we kind of managed Mid-South Madness season 2, and then turned into SRN season 1 this year with 3 different leagues.
Yes, and we did see 3 different leagues, as you just said. We got the Trucks Xfinity Cup. How did you guys manage to fill 120 drivers? Because when you told me all this, I'm like, you're crazy. You're not going to fill 120 drivers, but you did do it. How did you guys accomplish that?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was we utilized the guys that were in the league, and we had them help us. And we had teams that we formed in the league in Mid-South Madness season 2. And a lot of those guys, like Adam Pettit from Rev, stepped out there. Jake Roell stepped out there. Chris Massey, just a lot of the different team captains. Devin Zimmerman with Tank, they stepped out real big, and they just started recruiting for their own teams and to get people in, and they helped us. And then we did hit Facebook, we hit some of that stuff, and we wanted to make sure that we provided a good product so that when we got the 120 drivers, 120 plus, that we were able to maintain those drivers by doing right by them and making sure that if we said or their interview after the race was over. So, I mean, there was a lot of that, making sure that we had that. Now, this going into season 2, we are, we got to maintain the drivers and take care of everybody. I know right now, at this point right now, I've got the truck series completely full, and Xfinity for season 2 is almost completely full. And we hadn't focused on the Cup yet since the Cup race finishes tonight. We don't want to focus anything on other than this current season and this championship race this evening.
Yes, and like you said there, with the truck being full, the Xfinity almost full, as we saw towards the end of the season, we're having 23 cars. Do you kind of foresee a fall off next year?
I don't foresee a fall off coming. The fall off was anticipated. So Sean and I really put a lot of the work into this thing. It's really kind of us that have managed it, and with the help of a couple other admins and Setzer and Pettit. But when we forecasted this thing, we forecasted the fall off. We know that there's going to be fall off at the end of the season. So we're not surprised by that. We anticipated it. And we're actually okay with it, because at the end of the season, a little bit of fall off gets okay. It puts a little less cars on the track, and it gives us a little bit more potential for green flag racing, because there's more room for guys to get racing with each other. So the fall off, we would have hoped to hold a few more cars than what we have, but we're fine with where we're at. And then in season 2, I will tell you that we've taken some things that we've learned. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, I mean, the fall off was kind of anticipated, and we're okay with it. Like I said, we would prefer to have a couple more cars on track, but having less cars has promoted better racing with more green flag racing, less cautions. Now, I will tell you, in season 2, we have done some stuff, and we are changing a few things up to promote drivers, sticking into the playoffs deeper. Our team structure is going to change to a structure that you've probably never seen in iRacing, and really not in motorsports, on how we're going to keep the teams. It's going to be a really cool setup that's going to allow, even if you're last in the team points, you still got an opportunity. And I like the way we're going to do that. The tier 2 playoffs will be back. We're also going to have some other little things we're going to add to it that are going to change it. Not all of them, but most of the changes for season 2 are going to be announced tomorrow. We will be announcing the schedule for season 2, which is finalized. We will be announcing that schedule on this broadcast this evening. So guys, stick around. You'll be able to see what we're looking at for the schedule for season 2. And as you guys continue to keep up with Speed Racing Network, you'll see the changes coming to season 2 posted in the Discord and the amendments to the rule book as well.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You're changing some rules around. I'm really excited about this team structure because it's, like you said, it's very unique, and that's one of the things why I like this league, because it's not like any of the other leagues I run. Every other league is a 4-car team. This is 5-car team, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have. So, is this the last Matching Wits with Gerwitz for the 2021 SRN Season 1? That's Jason Tripp, everybody.
Thank you, Aaron.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We do have the schedule here for Season 2. And Aaron, take a look at this thing. A lot of 1.5-mile tracks on there, but you got about 3 or 4 short tracks on there also.
Yes, like you said, we got 3 or 4 short tracks. I mean, some people can consider Nashville's a short track, but I mean, it's only 1.33 miles, so it kind of falls into 1.5 miles of the short track. You got Richmond in our short track, Darlington, and Dover's obviously a short track, but looking at this schedule, I like it with a lot of 1.5 miles. It should promote very good racing. We'll see here tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at the playoffs right now, and over there in the first round of the playoffs, Las Vegas, then Kentucky, then Auto Club, and so a couple 1.5 miles and then a 2-miler there. Really, that's going to promote that really. Those are driver-friendly courses, and then you jump over into the second round, you get Indianapolis, which is kind of what I call an abnormal track because it's that big rectangle. It's 2.5 miles. It's a big track, but just really a technical track there because it's kind of so flat in those corners. And then Phoenix, you go straight from a huge track to a nice little track that has that dog leg that just makes it really fun. So, man, we're gonna have a blast next season. This is a great schedule.
Absolutely, I agree. It's a very good schedule. I love it.
Well, man, we will get into that, but let's talk about the race payouts here tonight. So we're going to pay out 3 positions tonight, $45 for first, $30 for second, $15 for third. So, I mean, coming top 3, you get at least your money back, but don't forget, Aaron, we've got some drivers going for the big money here tonight.
Absolutely. You got the big money playoffs here.
No, well, take a look, man. First place, 1,000 big ones. Second place gets $600. Third gets $350. Fourth gets $225. Fifth gets $150. So each of the 5 drivers that made it all the way through to the finals are going to get paid out something here tonight. And then we do still have that team championship out there, which we've already paid out. We'll talk about that here in a second. But Aaron, what could you do with an extra $1,000, man?
Oh, I could do a lot with an extra $1,000.
Well, man, these guys, they've been fighting for it all season long, and I truly do believe that we've got 5 of the absolute best drivers on iRacing racing for this championship here tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, they've shown it all season long. Your top 5. I mean, it's going to be a great battle, we're hoping. It should not be one driver gets outside cleaner and takes off. They should be real close. I'm predicting them 1 through 5 the whole night.
Oh, man, that would be awesome to see. I know the last 2 races, the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, the winner of the race has not been in the playoffs, but the playoff winner has come in a little bit behind them and won the whole thing. So it was kind of an awkward scenario where the winner of the championship isn't the winner of the race, but what does it matter? As long as you come across that finish line first, you're going to get that big money.
Absolutely. Like you just said, you don't have to win the race. You just got to be first out of those 5.
Well, in addition to prize payout or cash payouts, we also do prizes as well. So Butt Kicker has joined up with us, and they are giving away a free butt kicker to the cleanest driver of the season. And I got to tell you, Aaron, I think Gabriel Ellison has this thing locked up. I think he's got 8 clean races this season.
And based on that stat right there, I think he's got it on lock tonight. I mean, as long as he keeps it clean, don't get himself in too much trouble, he will be getting a brand new butt kicker.
That's right. Now, if you're not a winner of one of these things, you can still get a butt kicker, and you can get it a little bit cheaper than what its regular price on there. Go to Butt Kicker website, enter our code SRNVS20, and you'll get 20% off your regularly priced order. So thank you, Butt Kicker, for joining with us, and thank you to all the drivers for trying to keep it as clean as possible. And Aaron, you got some experience with this guy, Kane Cook. He's a great coach out there on iRacing. Tell us about your experience.
Kane Cook's just an all-around good dude. I mean, if you get to know him on a very personal level, he'll actually sit with you and make sure you get what he's showing you down, and then just kind of just make sure you got it down pat.
Well, Kane Cook is known as the hard charger. He's the guy that starts off towards the back of the pack and works his way all the way up through the front, and he does so very, very cleanly. So he's learned a lot of the tricks of iRacing, and so he is there. If you need to be a better iRacer, go to speedracingnetwork.com. Book your time with him. You've got single sessions, double sessions, you've got team sessions or big group sessions too. So a lot of different options for you there. But I know a lot of these drivers tonight have been working with him because they want that little bit of advantage that they can get in order to get into this race.
Absolutely. And I say any advantage is a good advantage.
You bet it is. Now, take a look at the team champions here. Roell Smith Racing wrapped this thing up a couple of weeks ago. That's how dominant they've been this season. And with 3 guys in the playoffs here tonight, you can see why they've been so dominant. But they won $300 in that Tropical Smoothie Cafe Cup Series Championship. So thank you, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, for everything you've done for us this season. And as always, if you have a Tropical Smoothie around you, go over there, get the Beach Bum. It is absolutely fantastic, and their quesadillas are amazing. Everything there is great. So thank you once again to Tropical Smoothie Cafe, but also thank you to Flavor Bomb Seasonings. So go to fbbbq.com. They're in charge of our second tier playoffs here tonight. And we got a couple guys up front that are teammates, and they're both out there on the track. And right now they're sitting 1 and 2 in qualifying too. So this might get really interesting.
Yes, and if they're sitting 1 and 2 in qualifying, I mean, they're going to be duking it out. I mean, they got 13 or 7-point gaps, so if they run 1-2, it's going to be max service at the end of the night.
Man, it is going to be a great, great race. But now, for the moment that everybody's been waiting for, the playoff contenders tonight, we've got Jake Roell, Scott Healy, and Jacob Smith, all from Roell Smith Racing. Then you have Gabriel Ellison, who came in a couple of weeks later in the season, and he's running with Filthy 5 Motorsports. Then James Holtzer, who's been super consistent all year long. He's for Team SRN. So 5 of the absolute best drivers, and we're about to go one by one with them and introduce you to those drivers. We'll start off with Jake Roell, and now Jake has really just been amazing all season long. Over the course of the entire 19 weeks that he's raced, he's averaged a top 10 finish. So he's picked up 6 wins this season, and 2 of those have been in the past 2 weeks. So he's the hottest driver in the field tonight. But he doesn't just win races, he leads as much as he possibly can. He's actually led 22% of all the laps that we've driven in the Cup Series this season. He has only had 5 races all season that he actually didn't even lead a lap. So only 5 out of 19 races he didn't lead something. But with all those laps led, they won't matter tonight. He's looking to lead 1 lap and 1 lap only tonight, and that's the last one.
And the next driver we have is the driver of the number 64, Scott Healy. Scott Healy only has 1 win on the season, but don't think for a second that he's only had 1 good race. In fact, he has consistently had some of the best finishes in the league, especially later in the season. In the past 12 races, he's had 8 top 5s. He's coming in with some momentum, also with podium finishes in the last 2 weeks. When he looks at the other 4 drivers running for the championship, he'll see 2 of his teammates in the mix. While he's always rooting on his teammates, tonight is one night that Scott Healy needs to win it for himself.
Yes, he does. Now, another driver in our field is Gabriel Ellison. Now, we mentioned that Jake Roell has an average finish inside the top 10. Well, take a look at this guy. He's raced 17 weeks, and he has top 10s in literally every single race this season. He finally got his first win back at Kansas about a month ago, but he's had 6 top 5s in a row coming into this race. Now, it's worth noting that we've received prior reports that Gabriel is on vacation. He's not going to be able to make the race tonight, but I've also heard some rumblings that he was going to try to take his racing stuff with him on vacation. So we'll have to see if he's able to join us tonight. I'll tell you right now, I don't see him in the field here tonight, but if not, all the other 4 drivers can breathe a sigh of relief, because if Gabriel is here, they would see a big show.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate for Ellison, but the next driver is James Holtzer. He's the first driver when I think of him coming to determination. He got his first win of the season in the week 1 of playoffs, but since then, he's been that driver that gets dropped back a little in the beginning of the race, only to fight his way back up to the front of the pack. While that is a great quality to have, he'll likely do better for himself in this race if he stays clean and stays at the front. I have a feeling this race was some long green flag runs, so it may be difficult to make a charge. If Holtzer can stay clean, things look good for him.
Yes, they do. And Jacob Smith, finally rounding out that top 5. He's really had a big scare in the past couple of weeks, but his win at Coda in the first race of this last round propelled him to where he is right now with a chance to win the whole dang championship. Admittedly, he hasn't been the best at these 1.5 mile tracks. In fact, his average position at these types of track is about 15th. But Jacob is the type of driver that wins when you're not paying attention to him. So a lot of other eyes are going to be on all the other drivers tonight. So this is the exact moment that Jacob Smith could have himself a great race and take that championship. And Aaron, we're out there on the track right now, and Jake Roell himself, who has been up front more than anyone else this season, he is going to take that pole for Roell Smith Racing. Max Service, who's going for that second-tier championship, is going to be in second. Timothy Latham in third for Filthy 5 Motorsports. He was eliminated last round of the playoffs, but still an incredible driver. Scott Kalala, also one of those drivers that was in the playoffs, got eliminated this past round. But again, for Team SRN up there in fourth, incredible driver there as well.
And in fifth, we have Dean Brummett. He was also eliminated in the last round of the playoffs. We got Ted Rekich in sixth. Jacob Smith, another playoff contender, starting in seventh. Scott Healy, as well, another playoff contender, starting as outside in eighth.
Yep, and then in ninth, we got Austin Reedy, who unfortunately was eliminated in the last round for Bronco Motorsports. Joshua Balliet for Tank Racing in 10th. He's going for that second-tier championship. Danny Setzer for Team SRN, one of the founding members of Speed Racing Network. He is up there in 11th. And James Holtzer, we said that he likes to drive through the pack, and there he is in 12th. So he's going to get that chance here tonight. But, Aaron, I think they're about to get started out there. It looks like they're about to get out there on the track. So, you know what? This is your first ever broadcast, so I will ask you right now, who's your pick tonight?
My pick tonight, if he could stay out front, he's been hot as of late, and he's got credited with 2 other championship wins. I say Jake Roell goes 3 for 3.
Yeah, it is really, really tough to pick against Jake Roell. I'm going to do something a little bit off the wall, a little bit different. There's somebody in this pack right now that hasn't raced with us for a little while, but has all the talent in the world, and he was the fastest in practice also. I'm going to go all the way back to the back with Adam Pettit in that 58 car. Again, great driver. He had a great practice session there. We will see what he can do here tonight, but I think he may win this race, but overall for the championship, I really think that Scott Healy has a huge chance tonight as well.
Yeah, just like you said, Scott Healy, another RSR driver, I believe.
Yes, he is. So, Roell Smith Racing with 3 of the 5 drivers in the playoffs, and with Gabriel Ellison not being here, 3 of the 4 drivers going for that $1,000. So the chances are super, super good for them to win this whole thing. And we will see exactly what happens as that pace car is about to dive off the track. And Jake Roell is going to get the first start of this final race of 2021 Season 1 for Speed Racing Network and the Cup Series. Come on, everybody, let's have some fun here tonight as Jake Roell takes off and leaves everyone in the dust immediately.
Oh, Jake just caught everyone sleeping on that start, which might hurt him here coming into turn 1. They might get a run with the draft on the backstretch into 3, but looks like he's going to pull right ahead and just keep on trucking.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on all the playoff drivers definitely throughout this race because they're the ones going for the big money. But up front, Jake Roell has built up about a 0.4 of a second lead over Timothy Latham, who they've had their battles this season. Timothy Latham has some wins on the season, 2 of them to be exact. So don't look past him because he could win this race also.
Exactly. Well, it looks like they're starting to sort themselves out single file. And we got a little 2x2 racing in the back, but I think it'll sort it out. They're just kind of in ride mode here for about halfway mark, and then maybe playoff drivers start making their run at Jake Roell.
Yeah, a lot of interesting strategies that could be happening here. It's a lot of people kind of hang back and save those tires, save that fuel, and then they jump back in.
Yes, it's all about conserving the tires here at Texas. Who can do it better, but looks like Latham's trying to run down Roell a little bit. He's got about a quarter second on him. So,
Aaron, we are joined now by Brandon Domain, who was there in the Truck Series Championship and also throughout the entire playoffs. And And Brandon, good to have you back up here in the booth, buddy.
What's up, guys? I had a little bit of a previous commitment that I was trying to get here, and I had to get here for this race and see the end of this season. Glad I was able to get through everything, but it wouldn't miss this race if I was able to not miss it. I was going to make that happen, so glad to be up here with y'all.
Well, man, great to have you here, and you know what? I'm going to step back and run the cameras here for a little while, and you guys, y'all have some fun here tonight. It's going to be a great race, Brandon.
Well, sounds good. Definitely looks like it's shaping up that way, Aaron. And, well, we got our four championship guys here. And it's Jake Roell with a pretty good lead over the other playoff drivers eligible for that title here as we're 5 laps into the 150.
Yep, and just right, he's got about a second lead over his teammate. Got a bunch of non-playoff drivers, so he can just keep on moving right out there and hopefully keep putting the gap on his teammate, Jacob Smith.
Well, go ahead.
You got to be worried about him saving the tires, though. He's running this hard this early, 6 laps. Hopefully he doesn't flat spot him or burn their right front off too much.
Yeah, and whenever it comes to conserving tires, I tend to just trust in Jake at this point in the season. He's proven he's able to do that with the absolute best of them. As we watch Max Service and Timothy Latham, a little bit of side-by-side action. Service leading the Tier 2 championship ahead of Josh Balliet. So Service in that 5th position doing what he needs to do to take that Tier 2 title.
Absolutely. If he just keeps it clean, he's got 7 points over Joshua Balliet. And right now it looks like there's Balliet starting to make waves, but I think Max Service has got this one in the bag if he stays clean and doesn't find himself in any troubles.
All right, moving back up front to Jake Roell, who's opened up a near half-second lead over his teammate Dean Brummett. Scott Colal, Timothy Latham, Max Service rounding out the top 5 as we get through 7 of 150 laps, settling in for a long run here at the Texas Motor Speedway as we determine our champion tonight.
Absolutely. Tonight we're going to crown a champion. Like we said in the pre-race show, they're going to walk home with $1,000. Brandon, what could you do with $1,000?
I could do a whole lot with $1,000. I'm not sure what it would go to first. It might fuel a little bit of that golf addiction, or maybe I'll just find some new equipment if I had that. But unfortunately, wasn't able to get any of that season payout in the Truck Series. But you, my friend, you got a little bit of that payout there in the Xfinity side. Congratulations on that 2nd place finish.
Thank you, sir. I mean, going back to it, I mean, just happy we got 2nd. I mean, would have loved to win it, but just didn't have enough time for the tire cycle to come through. And hopefully we don't see that happen tonight, and we can crown the champion as the best driver and most consistent one all race.
And we've been seeing it here at Texas and really over the past few weeks with the Cup side, just very clean racing, and it's been fantastic here as we've gotten, especially through that last leg of 3 races in that round of 10. And we're looking to continue that again tonight as Jacob Smith making a move as he gets into the 6th position as he and Ted Rekich both go to the inside of Max Service. That opens up the window as well for James Holtzer, who's trying to keep up, but we're starting to see the 3 Championship 4 drivers that are not named Jake Roell start to work their way through the field.
And you got to be thinking, maybe Roell's getting in conservation mode because he did have a close to a half-second lead on Dean, but I mean, he seems to be conserving some tire a little bit because Dean's closing the gap, but Healy, the gap there is pretty much right around 9/10.
Still a pretty decent lead there over the rest of the playoff 4, the championship 4, as Brummett closing in now by under 0.3 of a second, and that draft going to start to become a factor, I do believe. And it's also going to open up the odds that Timothy Latham might be able to follow. We're getting a little bit squirrely back there down the backstretch with a couple of blocks as we started getting too wide. As James Holtzer, Ted Rekich, I saw a couple of those involved there. No damage, nothing too out of line there. Just a little bit of hard-nosed racing down the backstretch as Timothy Latham and Scott Healy side by side. Healy going to move into the 3rd position and starting to close in on his teammate Jake Roell.
Yes, he's slowly but surely starting to make his way there. But as we see, we got Roell Smith Racing 1, 2, 3 right now in the championship race. James Holtzer's going to have to find some speed in that car.
Got a pretty good shake-up going back in the mid-pack as Max Service starting to slide backwards. See some damage on Ted Rekich's rear bumper and spoiler as well. Believe we had a little bit of something going on here with a few of these cars as everybody just kind of got wadded up there in the backstretch.
Yes, it definitely looks like some contact to the back of that Ted Rekich's 91 machine there. Don't know what happened, but...
And how about this? Looking at the left side of the screen, not only do you see 3 of the top 4 being our championship 4, but all 4 of the top 4 are RSR drivers here in the early going, as we're now a 10th of the way into the big money, the championship race here at Texas.
And Brandon, it kind of reminds you of what Hendrick did a few weeks back at Dover. They finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Could we possibly see RSR finish 1, 2, 3, 4 tonight?
You know what? I do not think it would shock anybody with the form that team has been on as of late. But the one man that does not want to see that happen is James Holtzer, who's continuing to run in the 7th position. So our championship 4 taking up the top 7, and Holtzer's got a whole lot of traffic behind him trying to make a little bit of a move here on that 42.
Yes, if he has one slip up, he can go backwards in a hurry if he gets shuffled.
Oh, we're a little close there as we get 3 wide, and Joshua Balliet got to make it the middle. We got one getting squirrely. Adam Pettit having to make the move to the inside. He saves it, and this is getting real gnarly here as we're getting 2, 3 wide, about 4 rows deep through 3 and 4.
Yes, so Holtzer does have some damage on the front of that car, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how much that's going to hurt him with 0 fast repairs. I think that might be a little too much damage. Oh, 3 wide again.
Little more contact as they get 3 wide down the back straightaway. We also have Austin Reedy getting to the apron as they go 3 wide into 3. He's going to ride up a little bit. He's going to back out and not make that contact with James Holtzer. Oh my goodness, this is some close, tight racing here in the early stages that has huge implications on the championship.
Especially for the one that's got the most implications, it's James Holtzer. I mean, he's got to be thinking in his mind, what are these guys doing? But he's got to get away either to get in front of them or fall back so he doesn't get any more damage to that car.
And with all the mess that's going on around him, Holtzer has fallen back to the 13th position and in danger of losing that to Max Service. And this is a nightmare scenario right now for James Holtzer as the rest of the championship 4 are running 1st, 2nd, and 4th. As here comes Scott Healy to the outside of Jake Roell to try to take the lead not only in the race, but take the lead in the championship as well from his car owner. And what a run here for RSR, but there's going to be a little bit of infighting now at this point, it looks like.
And that's what you said, it looks like. I mean, they're going for $1,000. I mean, you get second, you walk away with $600, so it's still not a bad chunk of change, but you want to give it all you got and know that you walked out of this race giving it 110%.
Ooh, very close to the wall. Oh man, a nervy moment there for the man behind the 64 as Scott Healy got very close, if not making a little bit of contact to that wall coming out of turn 2, and that is something that is very easy to do getting out of turn number 2. That car does still look clean though.
Absolutely. That car looks pretty clean. Doesn't look like it's going to hurt him too much. But he's just got to kind of just fall back and just kind of ride behind Roell a little bit so he can get closer and make a move on the inside.
Your top 4 all RSR drivers, all within 0.8 of a second of each other, and they're about a second ahead of Timothy Latham, who holds the 5th spot. And then you got to go another 2.5 seconds almost back to 6th place, Scott Kalal. Meanwhile, James Holtzer, the last name highlighted in green there, running in the 14th position and still mired in this little bit of a hornet's nest. It's starting to spread out a little bit, but that damage on the nose of the 42 might be crucial here and for his championship hopes.
I think that's just a little too much to overcome. It looks pretty hefty. You just got to keep an eye on the temps, and maybe this thing will play. Maybe RSR will get aggressive in themselves and take him out, but I think it's pretty much over for James Holtzer, and let's see him get that damage fixed with a caution out there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing he needs the most, is seeing a yellow flag wave. And speaking of colors, green is the color at the top of the leaderboard. First, second, third, all in your championship 4 as Jacob Smith gets around Dean Brummett for the 3rd position. And 3/4 of the championship 4 now running in the top 3 positions.
And that does not come as a surprise to me. They've been strong all year in all 3 series, so just expect them to come out strong tonight, and that's what they're doing.
Typically with championship races in this playoff format, whether it be real life or sim racing, as Healy looking outside then back inside, trying to get the nose in there, but he's going to think better of it. That's good safe driving here as we're still 24 laps into 150, but typically what you see on these sim playoff championship races or real life is that the championship drivers that are running for it, they will find themselves out in front. But what we saw in the truck race and in the Xfinity race for here at SRN, we saw a little bit of a different moment there where we had non-championship 5 drivers in those races actually winning the race. So a bit of an interesting mix here in the past week as we've decided our champions in SRN at the Texas Motor Speedway.
Yes, the trends for this race are not looking to shape up like the truck and Xfinity race. It looks like the winner is going to be the championship winner.
Still a long way left here as we've got 125 laps to go. Still plenty of time to decide our champion, but right now it's looking very good for RSR drivers as they run 1, 2, 3 as far as the championship 4. And Dean Brummett, outside of that group, is still in 4th. RSR leading a 4-car sweep, about a 1.5 seconds of Timothy Latham in 5th.
And just like you said, they're all consistent. They're all right there within half a second of each other. And that does not come as a shock. They practice together all week, so we'll just have to see how the tire wear plays out. And I'm not totally sure when the pit window opens, Brandon, but maybe you got a little insight on that.
It should be around that 35 to 40 lap mark. I know it's pretty similar to what we saw with the Xfinity cars, so it should be around that number. So we're definitely looking at a 3-stop race if it stays green the entire way. So those green flag pit stops can definitely be a factor here as we get working through. And we're about 10 laps away from seeing cars make their way to pit road for the very first time tonight.
And we got the winner from the Xfinity Series, Greg Olenek. He got a shot in the Cup Series, and he's doing very good with it. He's up in 6th place right now, about 5 seconds back. Before, he was about 6 seconds back, so as this run goes, he's starting to slowly catch those RSR cars, so we'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the race.
Yep, and we also have our Xfinity Series champion who finished runner-up on that race behind Olenek on Thursday is Gregory Joyner running in the 7th position. A little bit of a throwback-looking paint scheme there in his number 34 car. So we got Xfinity drivers running 6th and 7th. And we also have our Truck Series champion, Cole Martin, running in the 12th position. Not a bad showing there for the young driver as he tries to back it up. And Joshua Valiette caught the wall, came down to the inside, and Austin Reedy had to go through the grass to avoid him. Great defensive driving from both of them to avoid setting off anything more than that little bit that we just saw coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good driving. Had to take it through the grass, but it's better than having a wrecked up race car that puts you out early in this race.
Speaking of good driving, we got Jake Roell continuing to lead as he has since the very start. That is now 30 laps in the books, 30 laps led for the driver of the 9 car. But Scott Healy looks like he might be starting a little bit impatient as he's starting to move that nose a little bit closer to that back bumper of the 9 car.
Yeah, it looks like Healy's closing in on him, but can't generate a big enough a run to get around Jake Roell. So at the moment, we got Jake Roell leading the championship drivers. We got Scott Healy right behind him in 2nd place. And it just looks like James Holtzer, our championship contender, has pitted and is now 2 laps down to fix some of that damage.
Yeah, and I won't say that's going to be anything that's a kill shot to his championship hopes, as something that he definitely needed to do with the damage there. But looking back up front, as we make that point, Scott Healy does find a way to get around Jake Roell. So we're going to see our first lead change of the night, and it comes on lap number 32. Scott Healy to the front in the race and the championship standings.
Absolutely. You like to see lead changes and done cleanly, and that looks like to be the case what we have here. But Scott Healy looks to just run away with the lead here as he's opened up a almost 0.3 of a second gap on Jake Roell for the top spot.
The thing that those RSR drivers are loving right now is it's more than a 2-second advantage for 4th place Dean Brummett back to 5th place Timothy Latham, so they are running their own race at this point. The only thing that they've got to avoid is getting into trouble themselves. If them stacked up like they are, that would be an absolute nightmare if they have trouble up front. But they are starting to stretch out and get single file again, as it's Scott Healy leading the race and the championship. Jake Roell second in both, Jacob Smith third in both, and Dean Brummett fourth in the race. As it's a great night thus far for RSRs. The pit window's starting to open up here. We might be seeing cars make their way down pretty shortly.
And we just seen Danny Setzer come down. And now we have, I think that is Setzer right there. So there's Danny Setzer come down on pit road for his green flag pit stop.
Yep, and now we're going to start to see who will bite now, as that undercut, you do want to try to avoid it that little bit, but we know that the pit window is open. We're not going to have to worry too much about fuel mileage in this one with the distance of the race and that pit window. As far as they get, as long as they keep going this distance, they will be safe, as they were not going to be able to stretch it too far. We got a trouble as Max Service is going to loop it coming into pit road. So our Tier 2 championship leader with big trouble on his first green flag pit stop of the night.
And I don't think that's enough to bring out a yellow, as we are still green on the racetrack.
Yeah, it was off the racing surface, so no caution comes out, and that is a welcome sight to Scott Healy, who has now opened up a near 1 second lead over Roell in the 9, and he has pulled away from the rest of his team.
And you got Greg Joyner is now coming down pit road for his green flag pit stop, so pit road's going to be a very busy place here in the next few laps. I would imagine that these top 4 drivers, they all come down together, be on the same window, but when you're going for a championship, you never know what you might be able to go out an extra lap and have 1 lap fresher tires in your competition.
Starting to hear a couple more drivers make their way, or at least announce that they're going to be making their way, as we got Greg Olenek being one of them, Scott Kalal, another one of the drivers making their way onto pit road for their first pit stop of the night. So we're starting to see some of the top 10 drivers, as we run through lap number 38, make their first stop of this final race of our SRN season.
But yeah, Scott Healy just looks to be hooked up and sailed right off into the wind. I'm not sure when he's going to come down, but it's got to be within the next couple laps here. And we got Jake Roell.
I was just watching him come into pit road, and it wasn't because of this trouble that he just had, but he nearly got clipped as he slowed down to make his entrance in the pit road, and that might have set him off into that spin and heavy damage for the 9 car on the right rear and the left front. This is a massive moment in the championship race.
And yeah, and we're going to show a replay here of what happened to the 9 of Jake Roell coming to pit road.
Sandwich Man Racing Sports Memorabilia Rec replay, and as we do this, Scott Healy has just made his way to pit road. Dean Brummett will take the lead, but Jake Roell slowing up, and it was the man on fresh tires, Danny Setzer, that caught Roell pretty hard in that right rear. You can see the damage, and then shortly after, Roell turns it into the inside wall, still getting that damage repaired, and Roell is going to fall at least 1 lap down as Dean Brummett leads the way ahead of Jacob Smith.
Oh, that's a very unfortunate break for Jake Roell. I mean, hopefully he gets some of this damage fixed, and I just think that too much of an aero-sensitive car at this track, it's going to hurt him. I think now it's a race between Jacob Smith and Scott Healy.
Believe just heard that the 11 is going to be pitting this time by, as Dean Brummett continuing to lead by around a second. Holtzer has made his way around Smith as James in that 42 car with the fresher tires. make quick work of that. Actually, Smith staying out. I think he was just telling Holtzer which way to go, knowing that that fresh tire situation was going to let him be a lot faster. So your current championship leader is going to be the only man on the lead lap as we continue to cycle through these green flag pit stops, and it's Jacob Smith, the man that had to have a great showing at Dover, winning that race to make the round of 10 by a single point. He's ridden that momentum all the way to leading the championship here as we work our way through this first green flag pit cycle. Jake Roell back out on track, but he's going to be in last position, 2 laps down.
It's a very, very, very unfortunate break for Jake Roell. He's had the best finishes on these mile-and-a-half style tracks out of all the championship drivers, but one mistake that may not be at his own fault, but we know Danny Setzer's got to feel really bad about that, but
that's just a heartbreaker there for the man behind the 9, but this race is still a long way from being over. As I'll apologize, I was off on this fuel mileage. I did not, with my previous commitments, was unable to really run that fuel run. I was comparing it to the Xfinity cars, but we're seeing them go a whole lot deeper here. As Jacob Smith still on that original fuel tank, as we're on lap number 44 and still staying out for lap 45. So Dean Brummett continuing to lead, Jacob Smith in second, Adam Pettit in third. Those are the only 3 drivers on the lead lap as we continue to cycle through our first stop of the night.
Absolutely, and with Jacob Smith staying... Oh, Adam Pettit coming up here.
Trouble for Pettit. He's going to keep it off the wall. Nice save for him, but we're seeing a lot of drivers struggle making that transition off the racing surface onto pit road.
Absolutely, it's not a nice, easy transition. It's one of the most aggressive one. Now we got Dean Brummett coming to pit road. And
Leader coming in. He had a little bit of slide, but does a good job there. Jacob Smith, championship leader, making his first stop of the night, and that should open up the window for Scott Healy to retake that championship lead and also the race lead, as he's the first car in that running order that has not made that pit stop just yet.
And we're 46 laps into this 150-lap race. I think with that stop could help Jacob Smith in the long run at the end of this thing, but I don't think it'll turn into a fuel mileage race, but it could. It could, but right now, it looks like Jacob Smith will fall all the way back to, I'm guessing, somewhere right around 13th, 14th position.
Yep, there he goes. Jacob Smith out in the 13th position as we watch that ticker on the left side of the screen as Smith rejoining the racetrack. It's going to be Danny Setzer about half a lap behind him, so he will hold in that 13th position. Brummett in 12th, and Scott Healy. There is a long list of names between him and any other championship contender at this point. He is definitely in the catbird seat when it comes to this championship as we get near 100 laps to go.
Nice. We are three laps away from 100 to go. So it's still quite a long way, but Scott Healy's got to love what he sees right now. It's a very unfortunate break for 2 of our 4 contenders, but he's got to do what he's got to do to walk away here a champion of the Cup Series.
And everything just falling right into Scott Healy's lap. And that's not to say he hasn't been fast himself on this racetrack, as he was out there in the lead in second place really since the beginning of this thing, as he qualified in 8th and made quick work of his way through the field. And he has taken advantage of some tough situations there for both Holtzer and Roell, as Jacob Smith has fallen back with that later entry into pit road. He'll be making up some time, though, with the fresher tires. But Scott Healy, 3 seconds almost out in front, ahead of Timothy Latham. But he's a good 12 seconds ahead of his closest championship rival, Jacob Smith.
Absolutely, and my strategy here would have been hit on lap 40 or lap 80 and 120, and you're good to the end. But we'll have to keep an eye on Jacob Smith's strategy and see how it plays out in the end for him if he can run down his teammate Scott Healy.
45 laps. If you multiply that by 3, that's 135. So it doesn't look like that's going to be good enough to cut a pit stop out from the rest of the strategy of everybody else, as we keep an eye on Cole Barton, who just blinks out a little bit, comes back. but he's in the 5th position. But those fresh tires paying off here for Dean Brummett as he's worked his way all the way back up to the 5th position now. As Martin coming back, we might have a little bit of a blinking policy thing coming up here soon with him, as he disappeared for quite a while. But Dean Brummett up to 5th after rejoining the track in the 11th position. So he's making quick work with those fresh tires.
And up in 3rd, don't look now, but we have our Xfinity champion, Greg Joyner. He's looking to run down Scott Healy for this race lead. He wants to go out here and prove he's got the skills to come up here and compete with these Cup guys.
Yeah, we're seeing a great showing here for the drivers that are not Cup regulars, as we have Joyner in 3rd, Martin in 7th, Olenek in 11th place, as Jacob Smith up to 10th, looking to the inside of the 14 car, that's Fuge, and Smith will move into 9th.
The one thing Smith's got to worry about is not burning those tires up, working his way back up to the field, trying to run down Scott Healy. I mean, if he walks through this field pretty quickly, you got to be worried about that right front. Once he gets to Healy, Healy can just keep pulling and pulling away.
And this is a tough track to really conserve those tires on. It feels like it's easy, but it kind of baits you into really wanting to go faster than you might need to, especially 1 and 2, where there's a little bit more steering and grip that is necessary, as it's really, that half of the track is completely different from 3 and 4. 3 and 4, you can almost go flat out, but this track will really bait you into wearing out those tires faster than you think.
Yes, and just like you said, 1 and 2 is completely different than 3 and 4, which we can see here. It's a little bit flatter of a corner than the banking in 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 is like your normal 1.5 miles like Charlotte, but 1 and 2 is completely different.
54 laps down, 96 laps remain as Scott Healy leads the way, but Jacob Smith is on a tear. He's now up to the 7th position. He's gained 3 seconds on Healy since rejoining the track about 8 laps ago. And Smith now up to the 6th position as he makes his way around Austin Reedy.
And Jacob Smith's got just an uphill battle to climb. I mean, he's definitely got the skills to do it, but I just think pitting way too late is going to hurt him in the long run.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, as Smith already up to 5th, now 4th, as he quickly gets around Joyner. And these championship 4, at least the top 2 of them right now at the moment, starting to close back in on each other, as it's now an 8.5 second difference between Smith in the 11 and the race leader and championship leader Healy in the 64.
Then we head back up front to Scott Healy. He's just smooth sailing. I don't think he's worried about Jacob Smith too much, but I think he's just very in conservation mode. But what did you see from the truck race and the Xfinity race that might give Jacob Smith a little bit of an advantage coming back to the field?
Well, I tell you what, the one thing that would do it the most is a caution coming out and getting back on that same strategy, as it looks like the 11 and the 64 are pretty equally fast. But as these races play out, there is tire fall off, especially in 1 and 2. It's not as noticeable as on some other tracks, as Jacob Smith getting around the lapped car at James Holtzer. And it's hard to see what that strategy is, but it's obviously paying off here, as the fresher tires helping out the 11 right now. And I know it's a little bit more similar in those Xfinity cars that you had the experience in. So what were you feeling with the tire fall off as the tire runs went on?
My car personally, we'd experienced fall off until about lap 20, and then the times, at least my lap times, kind of stayed consistent, but not too much fall off. Once they fell off, they kind of stayed consistent. But as we just saw, there was James Holtzer with a little bit of blinking there, and Holtzer and Roell are still a lap down. They need a yellow flag.
And the one that'll get the most benefit from it is James Holtzer, as he runs in the 14th position. He's the first car 1 lap down, so he is in that lucky dog spot, as Jake Roell will have to get around Danny Setzer and James Holtzer to take that position himself. But Scott Healy, 90 laps to go. He continues to lead the way, but it's only now by 7.7 seconds over Jacob Smith, who is charging him down in a hurry.
Yeah, we saw Jacob Smith close the gap, but now it's kind of steady. He's still closing, but kind of just a steady close, Brandon.
Yeah, we're getting to about that 15th lap on that fresh set of tires, and that's really that point you were saying 20. It's that 15 to 20 spot is where that fall off kind of just levels out, and the advantage will go away for the fresher tires, at least at marginally fresh tires. So he's got about a 10 lap fresher set than Healy. As we check back in on Joshua Balliet, who currently runs in the 11th position. And he's actually in position here where he might be making a dent in a charge at the Tier 2 championship as Max Service runs in 13th. Remember, only 7 points separate those two drivers in the Tier 2 championship presented by Flavor Bomb. As second place, we might have a race on our hands here shortly. Timothy Latham is going to be working to hold off Dean Brummett.
Yes, and Dean is closing in on Timothy Latham. But we'll just have to see what happens in the next few laps here. But still, Jacob Smith is still on a charge to run down Scott Healy.
And Brummett looking to the inside of Latham. Not quite clear just yet, and he might be coming out of turn 4, and he'll do the slide up. I won't call that a full-on slide job, but just letting that car drift up just in front of that 5 car, and Dean Brummett to the number 2 position.
Yes, we just saw a very clean pass by Dean Brummett. He's one of our cleaner drivers here in the Cup Series, as he's looking to possibly take over the race lead.
I believe Adam Pettit has made a pit stop as he's fallen 2 laps down, and Jake Roell has moved by him, so now 2 of our Championship 4 will be racing each other for the lucky dog position should we have a caution, but there is no guarantee of that. We've now gone 63 laps since the very start of this race without seeing yellow.
Yes, and the way the race is shaping out to be, I don't think we'll see many yellows as we take a look back at Jake Roell. He's kind of just hoping for a yellow, hoping to get this group back bunched up and maybe get one more quick yellow and he can get back in the lead lap and see what his car can do.
And that's the rough spot for Roell as Holtzer is in the lucky dog position. Actually, he just lost the lucky dog position as Scott Healy has put Fuge a lap down. And Fuge is now just pitted. So once again, Holtzer to the lucky dog position. But if you're Jake Roell, you don't have that lucky dog. You're going to have to hope for the waiver round. But if you take that waiver round, that means you're not making that pit stop. So he would be on incredibly old tires and possibly low fuel. So he would have to pit and stay a lap down. So for Roell right now, he needs 2 cautions in a race that hasn't seen one yet.
Absolutely. And as we keep playing out, they're stretched out as we look back at Healy, still in the lead. He looks like he might put his teammate Jake Roell another lap down. So that's just another lap that Jake Roell is just kind of dreading. This has just turned into what started off as a dream race for Roell has turned into quite a nightmare, Brandon.
It's a 5-second lead from Healy back to Brummett, so I would imagine there's going to be a little bit of patience here for Scott Healy before he puts Roell that second lap down, but there can't be a whole lot of patience here as he's still got to run his own race and can't just help out his teammate and car owner.
Absolutely, and as we look back, James Holtzer pitted on lap 27, so I would say he would have to come in the next 5 to 10 laps. So that's gonna put him down to 2 laps, and you just gotta hope that the damage is not affecting him too much. As we just see Scott Healy go around his car owner and teammate Jake Roell and puts him 2 laps down.
And so now the hope is that if a caution comes out, if you're Jake Roell, a caution comes out after Holtzer makes his pit stop, which will be before everybody else, and before Roell needs to make a pit stop, as that would put him in position, but it would only give him 1 of 2 laps back, though. It would, however, pin Holtzer 2 laps down, should that scenario play out. As this racetrack is getting pretty spread out, though, I believe the closest race we have for position is between our 2 other series champions, actually. Side by side, we've got Cole Martin in the black and yellow number 51, and Gregory Joyner in the red and white 34. So our Xfinity Series champion on the outside, Truck Series champion on the inside, racing for a top 5 position.
Absolutely, and you gotta think this might be a battle of our champions. Which one's better? Either the young Cole Martin or also somewhat young, Greg Joyner.
I was gonna say, I'm sitting here thinking they're both young to me, as James Holtzer has made his pit stop, and so that gives the lucky dog. Lucky dog goes back to Jake Roell, but still 2 laps down. No damage repair there on that pit stop for Holtzer, as he falls to the 15th position. And we're still going to be about 10 laps or so away before we see Scott Healy make his pit stop. Jacob Smith may be another 20 laps away.
Absolutely, I think Jacob Smith is on that lap 90 window, but he's got to try something different here. Is the intervals have not picked up in a hurry. Like I thought Jacob Smith was going to come back to the front, but he's pretty much stayed steady at that 7.7 second mark.
Yeah, once they hit that midpoint through that run of the tires, they pretty much got to that spot that you were talking about where the times leveled off, and they're running pretty similar lap times now. In fact, I think Healy's actually been about a tenth or two faster, but there may be some lap traffic there that Smith has been dealing with. But he is closing in on Timothy Latham for the 3rd position, and still racing each other, our Truck and Xfinity champions, as Joyner and Martin running 5th and 6th.
Yes, that is the closest race out on the racing surface right now. Well, let's take a look back at our closest tracks to Texas. It was Atlanta and Charlotte, and unfortunately, all the cards would have played right into Jake Roell's hands. He won both those races, but Scott Healy, his average of those 2 races, he finished 3rd. So he's definitely got the speed on these 1.5-mile tracks.
Yeah, average finish for Scott Healy was 3.5. He's also the 2nd cleanest driver when it comes to incident points on track at 1.5 miles at just 2.29 over those 7 races. It really feels like Healy was kind of the sleeper pick out of this championship group, as he averaged a 12th place finish on 1.5 miles, but ever since the playoffs started, he has not had a finish worse than 12th. In fact, the last 3 races, it's been a 6th, 2nd, and a 3rd, with a top 10 finish in 10 of his last 12 races after just 2 in the first 7. Healy has really been the man that's been perhaps the most improved driver in the second half of the season.
I would agree, Brandon. He's definitely the sleeper pick. I mean, everyone was picking Jake Roell until a little contact happened, and now the sleeper pick is Scott Healy. As we see Jacob Smith going around Timothy Latham for that 3rd spot.
Yep, so we're back to an RSR sweep among the podium positions for the 2nd time tonight, as it's Healy in first, Brummett in 2nd, 5.25 seconds back, and then you go back another 3 seconds to Jacob Smith, but it sounds like Dean Brummett in that 25 is about ready to make a pit stop as we get halfway in to our final race of the Cup season here in SRN. As 75 laps down, 75 to go, and Brummett going to be making that pit stop, as is Timothy Latham, and they're going to be trying to make this on one more stop after this one, cutting this race in half here.
Well, yeah, and that's a very good strategy, cutting it in half, and you got one more pit stop after this one. So just got to keep it rolling, clean pits, clean in and out, and maybe they can find themselves winning this race and winning a little bit of money at the end of this.
So our championship leader continues to be Scott Healy, as he leads the race still, as he has for the past 30 laps or so. As Jacob Smith in the 2nd position, we look back at Cole Martin and Gregory Joyner as they continue close racing. Smith in the 2nd position. Sorry about that, Sean. I know I was bouncing around there. Sorry. We take a look back as Sean with our producing, and I'm making his life miserable right now. As Cole Martin, we look on board from him as he looks ahead to Gregory Joyner. That red car just in front by about 1/4 second.
Yes, this is the, I think the 2nd closest. I mean, we go back to Wreckage and Reedy. They're pretty close racing side by side. Or nose to tail with Holtzer on the outside. And Holtzer's on fresh tires, and Dean Brummett goes right around him as well.
You can really see the difference fresh tires makes here at Texas, as both those cars recently on their pit stop, and they just move right around. They're about a second and a half faster every lap.
And then, like you said, about a second and a half faster, we just got word that there is about a 2-second fall off on new tires to old tires.
Moving back up front, we watch Greg Joyner. He's getting passed by our fresh tires. Dean Brummett going around the outside. James Holtzer looks like he'll be going around the outside as well, as Joyner saying that he's going to be making a pit stop here this time, giving that heads up.
And that heads up is very, very convenient for all the drivers around you, so we can have the... Oh, he locks him up coming into pit road.
Nice save there by the Xfinity Series champion. It's Austin Reedy coming in right behind him. So our third and sixth place drivers making their pit stops here at lap number 80. So they're running that 40, 80, 120 strategy perhaps should this stay green the rest of the way. But Scott Healy still staying out as he now leads. I believe this is beyond 40 laps led today.
Yes, he is approaching 40 laps led, if not a little bit more. But he's just got clear track in front of him. That fresh air is just going to help him a little bit more. He's just got to conserve the tire and keep maintaining the gap between him and Jacob Smith.
And pit stop underway for Scott Healy as he makes his way to pit road. And very clean entry it looked to be as he makes his way to that speed limit. And that long drive down, his teammate and championship rival Jacob Smith not far behind as he also makes his way to pit road. And very important, they both had very clean entries onto pit road for this second of what should be 3 stops tonight.
Absolutely, and I believe Jacob Smith made up a little bit of time coming to pit road, so let's see how that plays out at the end of this.
So Dean Brummett going to cycle back through possibly to the lead. We'll have to see where Healy and Smith come out of all of this, but he did have that little bit of advantage, and he will take the lead. As you see Healy leaving pit road right as Brummett goes into turn number 1. So the fresh tires are going to play huge for Dean Brummett as he had about a 4-lap head start on that before Healy and Smith came in, and you can see the difference. It's going to be about a 5-second lead for Brummett over Healy, and it's going to be Timothy Latham also getting around Healy to move into the second position.
And it looks like the gap between Healy and Smith has stayed right around 7 seconds. So Jacob Smith made up a little bit of time, but he's got about a lot of ground to make up on Healy here.
A little bit quicker of a job on pit road there for Jacob Smith, maybe a quarter-second difference between he and Healy. As we look back at Greg Olenek in the 8th position, he's just ahead. You see that red, white, and blue car right behind him as Jake Roell making a pit stop. So this is a welcome sight to James Holtzer, who will retake the lucky dog position 1 lap down.
And it's just going to be a fight between Holtzer and Roell of who can be right there to get that lucky dog. As we just see Jake Roell go 2 laps down, and James Holtzer's now 1 lap down, so lucky dog will go to the driver in the 13th position, James Holtzer, if we get a caution.
Yeah, and that was the sight that Jake Roell did not want. You know, he stretched that tank as far as he possibly could, hoping that he would be able to cycle through and stay 1 lap down in the lucky dog spot, but by pitting and having to make that pit stop, he falls that 2nd lap down, gives up the lucky dog, also falling multiple laps down. At this point, it is going to be a mountain to climb in these final 65 laps for Jake Roell to possibly get back into that championship fight.
Yes, it's going to be a very uphill battle, but going back crunching the numbers real quick, we had Jacob Smith was a quarter of a second faster down pit lane than Scott Healy. So what to keep an eye on that is the gap is now less than 6 seconds between Healy and Smith.
But speaking of gaps, it's a 3.7 second gap for Dean Brummett ahead of Timothy Latham, who's only about 0.8 of a second ahead of Scott Healy, who looks to be retaking that second position here shortly with a little bit fresher tires. It's that black and yellow number 64 as that blue number 5 straight in his sights as they work their way through turns 1 and 2 on lap number 87.
And don't look now, but Scott Healy could possibly get to Timothy Latham by the time we get to 3 and 4 here as he makes a move to the inside. And he's going to take the 2 spot away from Timothy Latham on those fresh tires.
I got the driver chat pulled up, and I always love listening to the communication between drivers, and I typically don't give out like details or anything. I feel like that's one of those things that stays in school there, but a little bit of communication there between the 64 and the 5. Great to hear, as Latham knew that Healy was on the fresher tires. He's running faster. The last thing he wanted to do was affect that championship race, and they communicated with each other to determine the best way to make that pass as smooth as possible. So that was great sportsmanship for those two drivers.
Absolutely. You talk about sportsmanship. That was nothing but the best sportsmanship right there. Timothy Latham is out here racing for a win. He's 4 seconds behind. He knows Healy's in the championship run, so he doesn't want to affect that.
Nice race here between our Xfinity Series champion on the outside and Austin Reedy, one of our round of 10 playoff drivers on the inside. Reedy in that number 84 Bronco Motorsports car trying to make this pass happen. And this is a good look at what happens between that inside line, which obviously is the shorter way around the track, but that outside line gets a great run as you see the 34 get a little bit squirrely there in 3 and 4. Slides off the outside line, losing a little bit of time and a little bit of speed, and that opens the window for Cole Martin to make that move for 6th position as well.
And it looks like Cole Martin, possibly if he gets a run off of 2 here, he could get to the inside of Austin Reedy for that 5th spot. As Joyner is trying to find a way around Cole Martin, but gives him that push down the backstretch.
I know we've got the championship race and we've got the race itself, the Tier 2 race, but I'm really loving this race between our 2 series champions that we crowned earlier this week, as they've been near each other pretty much the entire 90 laps thus far.
And as we see as the run goes on, that Dean Brummett's lead is about cut in half on what he had when Healy passed Latham. So Scott Healy on fresher tires is coming in a hurry.
It is down to now 1.6 seconds, and it wasn't long ago we saw Healy get around Timothy Latham. That is now a 3.5 second difference between those two drivers, so that 64 is absolutely on rails today here at the Texas Motor Speedway as we're working in our final 60 laps of the Cup season here in SRN Season 1.
Yeah, we're very fastly approaching, we're within our last 60 laps of this season, but it's been a great season all around, Brandon, and all series. It's just good racing, good hard racing by everybody. As we just saw James Holtzer get passed by Reedy and Joyner here.
I will say, it's great that we're crowning that champion here tonight. Would have loved to see our entire championship field have a little bit better luck than we've seen with 2 of those 4. As it's always tough to see that, especially as early as that trouble happened there for Holtzer and Roell both. As we check back in up to the front as Dean Brummett, he's going to see a whole big mirror full of that 64 car. And there's going to be some communication there on the team channel at least between those 2 drivers to make sure that they do this as cleanly as possible, because it looks like it's only a matter of time before Scott Healy retakes that lead.
Absolutely. I would imagine in the next couple laps here, Scott Healy will be back to the front. But let's crunch some numbers real quick. Jacob Smith before the pit stop was about 8 seconds, and it looks like he'll be about a little over 5.5 seconds. So he's making up some time. So it could be very interesting coming down these last 60, 50 laps in this race.
Yeah, that Busch number 11 starting to come alive here in the second half of this race as Scott Healy gets the nose to the inside of Dean Brummett. And that 64 car back to the point. Scott Healy to the lead, and he pulls away by a 1/4 second before he even gets out of turn number 4. And as that happened, in 3rd place, we now have Jacob Smith getting around Timothy Latham. So our top 2 championship drivers are running 1st and 3rd, 5.5 seconds apart from each other with 55 laps to go.
And as we look back further in the pack, we have Roell, and Holtzer is not far behind them.
Yeah, the trouble here for Jake is that he's an extra lap down. So if he does get around Holtzer, it's nice visually, but it's not going to help him out a whole lot. He still needs to make up 2 laps to Holtzer's 1, and Holtzer will continue to hold that lucky dog position should we get a caution. But it's starting to feel like that's never going to happen here, as we're now 97 laps green since the very start of this race.
Yes, and you just touched on it. We might not see a caution. We may see a caution somewhere, but at the pace that we're going, I think we just go green to the end, and that's going to hurt Jake Roell and James Holtzer, put them out mathematically of this playoff race. As we take a look back at the battle between Reedy and Joyner is still going on. It's been going on for about 5-6 laps now as Joyner gets in front of Reedy.
Amazing. We got 17 cars, 15 on track as Adam Pettit and the 14 of Fuge have both dropped from this one. As not sure what happened there. Danny Setzer also just about out, it looks like, as he's 38 laps down. But a limited number of cars, yet we still see close racing for the most part here, as these three are all within about 0.6 of a second of each other. So not a whole lot of separation for some drivers, but a lot of separation being cut down here by Jacob Smith as he's starting to close in still on Scott Healy. That lead was 5.5 seconds. It was about 5.3, 5.25 seconds last time by. A little bit of a slower turn 1 and 2 there for Smith as he loses that little bit of interval he gained, but still doing a great job here. And for the man that barely made the round of 10, he's finding himself in that second position in the championship and making some serious money should he hold on.
Yes, you just touched on it. He barely made it by 1 point into the round of 10. But second place is not a bad place to be in this championship race.
I feel you would know what you're talking about there with that one, as our second place finisher in the Xfinity season. As Healy continuing to lead, we check in on the Xfinity champion, Greg Joyner, running in that 6th position, starting to pull away from Austin Reedy a little bit and close in on that back bumper of the truck champion, Cole Martin. So they're now within 0.2 of a second of each other. That's the race for 5th and 6th.
And this battle's been going on all race long between our two series champions. As we take a look here, Greg Joyner's going to possibly get a run down the back stretch, but I don't think it's enough to get to Cole Martin's back bumper.
So I'm a little torn on this one. I'm not used to pulling for Cole Martin as a Truck Series driver that was getting beat by him pretty much every single week, but a little bit of Truck Series pride in me after this season. I want to see that 51 get out there. I'm sure maybe you're thinking the same about the 34. We'll both be in the Xfinity Series, so maybe I should kind of dial that back actually for next season.
Oh, yes. Yes, I heard you are moving up to the Xfinity Series next year, Brandon.
Absolutely am. Looking forward to running there next season. Still looking like I'll be in that 20 just in a car instead of a truck next season. So excited about that move, and also excited to be seeing these last 50 laps here as we're on lap 103. Scott Healy continuing to lead a 1.5 seconds ahead of Dean Brummett. Jacob Smith starting to fall off pace a little bit, though. He's fallen back a second over the past 4 or 5 laps.
And you got to think Jacob Smith was pushing just a little too much and burned that right front right off. And they pitted right on the same cycle as each other. So I want to believe that Jacob Smith did push that right front a little too much as he makes up a little ground there as Healy bobbled through 1 and 2, but Healy's going to pull right here in 3 and 4.
And here's the thing, you cannot blame Jacob Smith in that 11 for burning up that right front a little bit, trying to close that gap on Scott Healy when he had the opportunity to do so. At this point, you know that the other 2 championship rivals, they're at least 1 lap down, running 13th and 14th with Holtzer and Roell. You got to make that home run swing if you're the man driving that 11 car.
Absolutely, you got to try something different. If you do what the leader does, in this case is Scott Healy, you're only going to finish right behind him. So you got to do something different.
And as we check back in on that perpetual race between 5th and 6th with a 51 and a 34, the question's going to be, how do you handle the last pit stop? We know they can go 45 laps. We have 45 laps to go. That pit window is open. Speaking of, thank you, Timothy Latham. That's a great example of what I was just talking about. He'll be the first one down pit road, giving up that 4th position.
Then we'll have to see how everyone else. He might get a few takers coming down, but I don't think you'll see Healy or Smith come down on this lap until about lap probably 115, 120-ish, if they're on that 40, 80, 20 or 120 strategy.
And I'll throw out the idea that if you can make it those 45 laps We saw the pit stop around left for both Healy and Smith. If I'm Healy, I try to stretch that out unless I see that the 11 car came in, and then you try to stop that undercut as quickly as you can. But the last thing that you want to do is pit early and then have the caution come out, and you're trapped a lap down while your championship rival here in this race is still staying out and on the lead lap because they did not make that pit stop. This is a tough decision if we stay green on when to make that pit stop for the final time tonight.
Absolutely. If we see the caution come out and Scott Healy's on pit road and gets trapped a lap down, oh boy, that changes things a lot into Jacob Smith's favor.
Big pass here as the 81 of Max Service makes his way into the top 10, and I say that's a big pass because that is a big move for the Tier 2 championship as Service now in 10th, Balliet in 9th, so that'll put Service, give him a stronger hold on that 7-point lead he had coming into this race.
Absolutely. And 7 points is very tough to close the gap, but like I said before in the pre-race show, I think that is on lock for Max Service.
It's definitely starting to look like that as we get near 40 laps to go, and this might be a big pass coming up here as that 64 of Scott Healy is starting to reel in Scott Kalal in the number 23 car, that beautiful 23 green and black car, and if he puts him a lap down naturally on the track, that will eliminate a lot of hope there for James Holtzer, as he's not in the lucky dog position now because of the pit sequencing for Timothy Latham. And this is going to be a precarious position there for that 42 as he hopes that he can get a caution to get that lucky dog.
Then speaking of that, James Holtzer was an early pitter in the cycle, so I'd imagine seeing him come here in the next 3 to 5 laps.
Yeah, he's definitely near that as we watch 2 of our 4 Championship 4 drivers nose to tail with each other on separate laps. And this is an absolute stunner, and I know it's not necessarily any unforced errors of their own, and it's just a heartbreaker for these two. They got caught up in trouble from others, and they find themselves mired back in the pack and laps down. At this point, Holtzer 1 lap down in 13th, Roell 2 laps down in 14th, and it sounds like we're about to have, Dean Brummett making his way down pit road. Sounds like Scott Healy is not far off himself, but Brummett giving up the 2nd position. So at this moment, championship drivers 1 and 2.
And you got to think how much longer James Holtzer has left in that fuel tank before he has to make a stop and gets put down another lap.
And it's at this point you got to start thinking if you're close, you might as well just come in. He is not in that lucky dog position. 3 cars in front of him in that lead spot for those 1 lap down. So for Holtzer, he's going to need a lot of help here to get that lap back.
Absolutely, he's going to need multiple upon multiple cautions if we get 1. And you know what they say, cautions breed cautions, but
I would not count out that series if it happens, where if we get 1, we see a few, because we're just going to ramp up that intensity. As right now we've got 8.5 seconds between our championship drivers right now leading the way, Healy and Smith. But if you put them side by side, teammates might go out the window as they race for that $1,000 championship.
Absolutely, as we just saw, Scott Healy put Max Service a lap down, so that's only going to hurt Roell and Holtzer's chances of getting back in this championship contention. But as we just see, James Holtzer's coming down pit road to make his pit stop.
Yep, Holtzer in for his possibly final stop of the night, should we not see a caution the rest of the way. But Scott Healy continuing to lead. It's now 9.25 seconds over Jacob Smith. And this has played out beautifully for Scott Healy, who was one of the faster drivers all night. As we watch our next car coming in, that's Ted Rekich in the 91 for Team SRN, giving up the 7th position. But it's still staying out is Scott Healy. It looks like he's going to continue that 120 strategy, or at least coming in on lap 120 every 40 laps as Max Service making his way in. And here's the thing I question. If you're Jacob Smith, there's the answer. I was about to say, is he going to differ that strategy? Because him and the 64 been on the same one. Jacob Smith making his pit stop for the final time. He's going to try the undercut maybe a couple laps before Healy makes his pit stop.
And if you're Scott Healy, you got to come down right now, and just before I spoke too soon, he comes right down pit road.
Great
Looks like a
defensive
very-
move here.
Very clean. Oh, we got
Oh.
a car around on pit road, but Healy misses him.
Joshua Balliet giving probably one of the largest Code Brown moments to a driver there, as Scott Healy probably saw that championship going away a little bit as that 74 car started backing up at the entrance of pit road, but no harm, no foul, as Healy continues his way down, and Austin Reedy will assume the lead as we continue to cycle through pit stops with 34 laps to go.
And in second, we have Greg Olenek, the winner from Thursday night's Xfinity race, right there in second. So
Both Reedy and Olenek still waiting on their pit stop here. They may be staying on that 40-lap strategy.
that is very possible in that 40-lap strategy. Come out with a little bit fresher tires and be able to work their way through this field and get a very good finishing position out of this.
Coming out of the pit, Scott Healy 26.3 seconds down. He's still going to hold a sizable lead over Jacob Smith, who is the first car one lap down as we run on the track here. And Scott Healy continuing to hold that championship lead as we cycle through what could be our final pit stops of the season. Austin Reedy will give up the lead and make his pit stop on lap number 118, and that gives the lead to the 31 Moo and Brew car. It's Greg Olenek to the front.
And Brandon, you gotta like that paint scheme.
Absolutely love that paint scheme. Hopefully that stays around for a little bit. Love seeing that cow print car out there on the track. One of the better looking paint schemes that we have. Definitely one of the more identifiable ones as well, as he will see Cole Martin make his way around to unlap himself, but the 31 going to give up the lead as well after leading his first lap of the night. A little bit of trouble here, but he's going to save it and keep it straight as he makes that pit speed limit. And out to the front once again, going to be that 25 car. Dean Brummett will take the lead.
Yep, and we've seen that all race long, that Dean Brummett, within his pit strategy, comes to the lead after his cycle's out. But Scott Healy is going to be coming in a quick hurry. Once he gets that car up to speed and rolling again, he's just had that car on a rail all night, Brandon.
He certainly has, and we saw that little bit of difference in the one lap undercut for Jacob Smith. He's going to wind up being 6 seconds back after being 9 1/4 back, and I think some of that's going to come down to that pit incident there that we nearly had between the 74 and the 64, as Healy will continue to lead, but that lead has been cut down. But it's Dean Brummett leading the race here at Texas, 2.5 seconds ahead of Timothy Latham, 5.6 seconds ahead of Scott Healy.
Absolutely, and as we look through the field here, we got Dean Brummett in first, then you got Timothy Latham in second. Leading the championship charge is Scott Healy, and not too far behind him is Jacob Smith as he's trying that undercut strategy.
Yeah, that one lap advantage, that was a great job by Scott Healy to, once he knew that 11 car came in, he made that pit stop as quickly as he could to prevent that undercut from really taking too much of a chunk out of that 9 1/4 second lead that he had, as Dean Brummett continuing to lead the way with, now we're going to have lap number 123, so it'll be 28 laps to go around this track near Denton County, Fort Worth at the Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles. So this race getting very close to seeing the conclusion of our season.
Absolutely, we are closing in on the final laps of this Cup season, and we'll just take a look at the Season 2. Brandon, did you take a look at the Season 2 schedule that we had up in the broadcast earlier?
You know, with the rush that I was in to get in, I was unable to see that, so I'm still a little blind to that schedule at this point. I'm nervous. I'm anticipating what we're going to have. I'll find out soon enough, but the most pressing thing right now is seeing how this championship plays out in the Cup Series. Is Scott Healy going to reassume that number 2 position on track as he makes his way around Timothy Latham, continuing to hold a 6.5 second lead on Jacob Smith, currently running in the 4th position, but 2nd in the championship race.
And as we see here, Scott Healy's just got to focus in his mind. He doesn't have to go up there past Dean Brummett. He just got to maintain the tires, make sure he doesn't burn off, and give Jacob Smith a chance on him saving tires and able to get up there and give him a run for the championship.
But as we talk about that, there is always one thing that can entirely change that picture. If we see one yellow flag show up here in the final 25 laps, that will change everything. As we currently have 9 drivers on the lead lap, Max Service holding that lucky dog position. First driver 1 lap down. As Dean Brummett continuing to lead, but that lead has been cut down by about 3 seconds over the past handful of laps. The Scott Healy on those fresher tires is chasing him down, now within 3 seconds of his teammate Dean Brummett.
And we just saw there another pass. Scott Healy gets around his team owner. Jake Roell is still 2 laps down. He's praying and hoping a yellow flag comes out, and he's going to have no choice but to take the wave around. But then he's going to be short on fuel for the end of this thing, I would imagine.
So Brummett continuing to lead as, well, it's a interesting night here for RSR as they did get hit by that trouble for Jake Roell, but the rest of their team running first, second, and fourth. And just think about that, as Jake Roell is making his pit stop for the final time tonight, as he will give up that 2 laps down position. He'll fall back 1 more, staying in that 14th position. But Dean Brummett leading the way, 2.5 seconds ahead of Scott Healy. And this has really summed up the season with RSR. They have just been fantastic from start to finish. And seeing them have 3 of the top 4 spots and 3 of the top 4 championship spots as well, just really indicative of the success that they had this season.
Absolutely, across all 3 series, they've had great success. And we just hope that momentum continues for them next year.
And Ted Rekich in that 91, running in the 8th position as we check back in. Jake Roell finishing off that pit stop, possibly getting a little bit of damage fixed while he was in there. Didn't wait too much longer, though, as he makes his way off pit road in that final pit stall. As Dean Brummett completing another lap, and we're down to 20 laps to go here at the Big Money. 21 laps to go. That caught that a little bit at the wrong time there, as Dean Brummett working his way around here in our season finale. Go ahead, sorry.
And as we take a look back, Scott Healy is closing in on Dean Brummett for that race win.
Yeah, he's closing in as quickly as our next season, which will only be about a month from now when we restart with that truck series in mid-July. But right now, we put the finishing touches here. 1.4 seconds now the lead for Brummett over Healy. And Scott Healy, he doesn't just want the championship win. He wants that race win as well, as we're down to our final 20 laps.
And I think at this point right now, Scott Healy is just loving what he's seeing. Jacob Smith is not making up too much ground, so it's just, if this thing stays green, I think we see Scott Healy taking the win of the race and winning that big money here at the Big Money 215.
19 to go, now under 1 second, the gap between Dean Brummett in that 25 and Scott Healy in the 64 car. You got to go back another 8 1/10 seconds to get to Jacob Smith in the 11 car, running in the 4th position. He's reeling in Timothy Latham for 3rd, now a 2.5 back, but he's going to have to do a lot to catch our championship leader, Scott Healy, as we're now 18 laps to go, and that lead is now under a half second.
As we see Scott Healy's closing in quick, he's coming in a hurry. I would say that Dean's strategy didn't play out like he wanted to, but he will shortly fall to 2nd place with a nearly almost 8-second lead over Timothy Latham for the 3 spot.
Still a very strong showing for one of the better drivers over the long run here in SRN, over not just this season but every season we've had, as Dean Brummett is seeing a mirror full of that black and yellow number 64. 17 laps to go as they come out of turn number 2, and Scott Healy is pulling up right towards that back bumper, about a car length apart, and we may be seeing a race lead pass that may just be the championship moment that capitalizes here, or at least clinches that title, or sets him up very well to finish this one off. 16 to go. Healy looking to the inside of Brummett, as they're now about 1/10 of a second apart, and I think he's being very patient here with his teammate maybe even thinking, you know what, I don't have to pressure him a whole lot here.
Yes, absolutely. Doesn't have to pressure him a lot as he dives down to the inside of Dean Brummett, and I think Dean's just going to let him go at this point.
And Scott Healy has that inside line. Brummett going to try to hang on the outside. 15 laps to go at Texas, but diving into turn 1 with that inside line, give the lead once again to the 64 car. Scott Healy with a dream night thus far at Texas Motor Speedway, going to re-grab that lead from the 25 of Dean Brummett.
Yes, and as we saw all night that Scott Healy gets back to the front of this lead pack here, as we've gone about 135 green flag laps tonight.
And you think about this group of drivers that we had make this final championship race with a shot at the title. Scott Healy, just one win on the season. What a show it would be if he pulls off his second win of the year and does it for the championship at that. As he is in position here, as he's pulled away by about 0.4 of a second, he is now 9.5 seconds ahead of his closest title rival, Jacob Smith, is a car owner as well, co-owner of RSR, who's running in the 4th position.
As we take a look down the backstretch here, I mean, it's just pretty much spread out, single file, pretty ho-hum 1.5 mile track here. It doesn't look like too much lap traffic in front of Scott Healy, so he should be able to tick off these last 12 laps pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's nobody really near. You see James Holtzer now getting into turn number 1 on our track pack there, showing that those dots of everybody going by. Scott Healy highlighted in green as he works his way off of turn 2 down to that back straightaway. And it is a significant lead. He may not come up against any lap traffic the rest of this race.
I would not imagine him. The only traffic he might have would be James Holtzer, which I don't think Holtzer will fight it too much with that damage, so he might just let Healy go right on by, so it would be very easy pass for Scott Healy tonight.
Well, let's see how easy the pass is here for Jacob Smith in that 11 car. So he's pulled up to the back bumper of Timothy Latham in the 5. Smith going to take a look on the inside. Not sure if Latham kind of gave him that room a little bit, knowing that the 11 is on fresher tires overall and has just been faster tonight as he does move up those couple lanes. And Smith going to take the 3rd spot, but still has to go 10 seconds to make up on Scott Healy as we're in our final 10 laps of the season.
And it's just pretty much written, signed, sealed, and all it has to be is delivered for Scott Healy.
The only thing he's hoping is not delivered at this point is our first caution of the night, as final 10 laps, just 15 miles to go. And we've avoided it thus far. We've gone 140 laps without seeing a caution, and that is the only thing standing in the way of Scott Healy and the SRN Season 1 Cup Championship here in 2021.
Absolutely. The last thing Scott Healy wants to see is a yellow flag, which would put Jacob Smith and Scott and himself on the same pit cycle, and they would just go head-to-head for this championship. I mean, Jacob Smith would love to see a caution right about now, but Scott Healy, on the other hand, would not like to see that.
I think everybody in the field, aside from that 64 car, wants to see that caution, and I'm sure there might be some people at home wanting to see how that plays out should a caution come out. But if you're Scott Healy, that is definitely the last thing you want to see. 8 laps to go, making his way into turn 3. Nearly a 2-second lead over Dean Brummett, but most importantly, a 10.25 second lead over Jacob Smith. As we look back in, hey, by the way, still running nose to tail with each other, our Xfinity champion and truck champion. Joyner in 5th, Martin in 6th, and I don't think there's been a point in this race where they haven't been more than a quarter of a second apart.
And that just tells you the drive of these competitors out here. They drive 2 different vehicles on a regular basis, but when they hop in the Cup car, they're pretty much in an even playing field, and they're just nose to tail, and that's why they're the 2 champions of the season.
And we've talked about it in pre-race shows pretty much all season about how SRN, one of the better leagues out there when it comes to iRacing, and a lot of that has to do with just this brotherhood of the drivers. Oh, as Cole Martin hits the wall, he's going to get squirrely. If it keeps it straight, and that might be the greatest sight in the world to Scott Healy, because if that car went around and the caution came out, that would have changed everything.
Yes, we almost saw our first caution right there, Brandon. But Cole Martin did a really good job saving that car, keeping it under control. Scott Healy almost saw the race in his season kind of slip away there.
Oh my goodness, that was a terrifying moment if you're a fan of the 64. But in the end, the race goes on and it stays green. In our final 5 laps, 2 1/4 seconds the difference. From Healy to Brummett in second, nearly 11 seconds now. Back to third place, Jacob Smith, who is second in the Championship 4.
And right now, if you're Scott Healy, you just got to keep it smooth. Keep it smooth and kind of just go ho-hum kosher about the way he's been doing this whole race. And I'm sure the nerves might be setting in for him, but he's got a clear path in front of him and a clear path behind him, so he's just got to keep it kosher here.
Three laps to go. It's about a half straightaway lead for Scott Healy, or excuse me, for James Holtzer ahead of Scott Healy, as that's really the only lap traffic that might be a thing here for Scott Healy at the end of this, and that's even questionable if he'll catch the 42. It is daylight in front of our championship leader as we get ready to take 2 laps to go at the Texas Motor Speedway in the Big Money 215.
And then as we see on our screen, we are now 2 laps to go. He has roughly 3 miles till he can be crowned a Cup Series champion in the Speed Racing Network.
About 3/4 of a mile. Once he takes that white flag, he will know that a caution will not ruin this moment. As the 64 car, Scott Healy for Roell Smith Racing, out of turn number 4, he will take the white flag. 1 lap to go in the Cup Series season here at Speed Racing Network. And it's 1.5 miles until the journey is complete here for Scott Healy. 1 win on the season before today, and his second win may be the sweetest one of them all, as he is in line to get the championship here in the Cup Series into 3 and 4 for the final time. And it might not have been the first name you thought of to take the title tonight, but Scott Healy, your 2021 Season 1 Cup Series champion.
And yes, Scott Healy takes home the sweet $1,000. He will also take home, we forgot to mention this earlier, a button box, compliments of Sparkle and Shine mobile detailing.
Get that button box, $1,000, the trophy, and the title of the 2021 SRN Season 1 Cup Series champion. Unbelievable night for Scott Healy. And we didn't see any cautions. We saw a whole lot of drama, though, on the track. But for the 64, it is all gravy, as he will be our champion. Jacob Smith, second in the championship race. James Holtzer, third. Jake Roell, fourth for our championship 4. As Dean Brummett taking the second position in the race. But it's time for a big set of donuts here for Scott Healy, your champion and race winner as well.
Yes, and he's going to burn it down here with his teammates that are surrounding him. Yeah, we got RSR been strong all year, and we see it here. As they finish 1, 2, 3, they take all podium spots here tonight.
Yeah, that kind of gets lost in all of this here. It's a podium sweep for RSR with Healy in first, Brummett in second, Smith in third. Kind of go through the rest of the running order here. Fourth place is our Xfinity champion, Greg Joyner. Fifth will be Timothy Latham. Sixth, Truck Series champion Cole Martin. Austin Reedy in seventh. Ted Rekich in eighth. Greg Olenek, the winner on Thursday night in the Xfinity race, in ninth. The first car 1 lap down in 10th. And should be the Tier 2 champion is Max Service.
Yes, and that Tier 2 champion should be Max Service. Him and Joshua Ballier finished close enough together to where that gap did not close in any.
It is a giant party down here with 6 cars doing donuts, and it's RSR drivers or affiliated drivers from other series getting into the mix as well. So we're seeing 3 champions making some donuts here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and I think we're going to get lined up here for a nice little photo shoot as well.
Yes, and that.
And the blown engine, so that's the first problem of the night there for the 64, and might ruin that photo up a little bit, and hopefully the smoke will clear for their sake. Alright, so as they get lined up at that start-finish line, looking for some team photos here to celebrate not just tonight at Texas, but the entire season before our 1-month break. Let's look at who we can grab up here to join us in the booth for a little bit of interviews as we try to get our top 3 in the point standings, starting with James Holtzer as we try to get him, and we do. James, it is Brandon and Aaron up here in the SRN booth. Know that the night did not go the way that you wanted, but a great season overall as you take the 3rd position. Not just for tonight, but how do you feel about this entire season taking that 3rd place spot?
Nonetheless, it's always an honor, getting the podium finish for the season in this league. There's a very lose my train of thought here, but a very deep, talented field in this league, and didn't get the finish we wanted. Things happened, and it is what it is. We short pitted and had to sit in pit road and fix all our nose damage because it was like a balloon, or a parachute, I guess would be a better explanation. But we put ourselves in position multiple times to get the free pass, and just went caution free because these guys are able to do that. It's a really good league, and it was a gamble that we had to take because of events that happened. But nonetheless, great season overall, and have something to improve on definitely coming in the next season.
Absolutely, James. It was a great season. We loved watching you. Unfortunate events tonight, but who do you get to thank tonight?
Always thanking the broadcast. Got to thank everyone that puts this league together. Countless hours, countless time, and money put into it for a great product. And I think we put on a great show. Got to thank Team Speed Racing, Team SRN, for putting me under their wings this first season. That didn't even go, exactly as we all anticipated, and team kind of crumpled apart, and actually a teammate that cost me my chance at it tonight. But I don't know what else you're gonna do, but also got to thank Dirty Racing Podcast, and also got to thank Extreme Sim Racing also for being on the car all year, and we got some things working for next year. Just got to figure out which route we're gonna take, and really excited to have things moving forward.
Yeah, end of this season, but the next one only about a month away, and definitely looking forward to see what you do as we get ready for Season 2, starting in mid-July. But congratulations on a great season. I know tonight was rough, but that 3rd place finish, definitely something to be proud of. So congrats on what you accomplished there this season.
Thanks, yep, something to take away.
And let James go back to his team chat there as we start to look for Jacob Smith, who will be our championship runner-up here this season. And we do have Jacob up here. So Jacob Smith, 3rd place tonight in the race, but 2nd place in the championship. Congratulations there. And for somebody that barely got into that 2nd round, you definitely made the most of that momentum, riding it to a 2nd place finish. How do you feel about this season overall, and congratulations?
Appreciate it. I guess I squeaked in right as I needed to at the end there. Had to start off the playoffs with another win, and overall with the season, couldn't be happier with 2nd place. I had nothing for Scott tonight. He was way too fast on a long run, so I don't think anybody would have been able to do anything to him. So it's been an absolute blast of a season.
Yes, it has been an absolute blast of the season, Jacob. But as brings me to my second question, you guys over at Roell Smith Racing, have swept the championship this year. What kind of practices did you guys do through the week?
Well, this week and pretty much every week, as soon as we're done one race, we just start the practices for the next race and pretty much make sure to all get on together at least a couple times a week and put a lot of laps in, start giving each other tips on how we think we can keep each other faster, because at the end of the day, it is still all about a team victory. And I think it just showed throughout the season. That's why we ended up with 3 RSR guys in the top 5 for the last race. And I think next season it might be either 4 or 5 of us in the top 5.
Definitely something that I think the rest of the field does not want to see, but the way that you guys have dominated this year in all of our series definitely means that it's 100% possible that we could see that kind of thing. But the next season's still just 1 month away before we get there, and before we even get to that break, give you a chance to thank anybody that you want to here in this moment with your runner-up finish for the championship.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next season. It should be just as good, if not a lot better than this season was. We got a couple guys coming on for Cup, for Xfinity, and for the trucks. So I think we'll make a pretty big impact next season as well. But sign off for this season. I want to thank all the guys at RSR who put in a hell of a season. Had a lot of fun together. Off Apex Designs for making us some good paint schemes, and then the old Busch Light car for bringing it home 3rd tonight in P2 overall. Couldn't be happier with it.
Well, you can go celebrate the season there with one of those Busch drinks there. We'll put it kindly for everybody as the season is in the books. Great job all season long, and we'll let you go back to the team chat and celebrate with your guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
So a big congrats to Jacob Smith, our season runner-up, and we don't have to go far to find our champion, as still in that RSR camp, Scott Healy. 2nd win of the season. It's the sweetest one of them all. And Scott, Brandon, and Aaron up here in the booth. First of all, just a big, big congratulations for being our 2021 Season 1 champion. How does it feel, man?
Oh, man, I'm all smiles right now, dude. It feels so amazing.
Well, it was a dominant performance tonight as you led pretty much the entire last 100 laps there. I know there's a little bit of pit sequencing there, but how soon did you know that you were going to be one of those guys that just had that car tonight that was out in front and absolute dominant?
Once I got that clean air, I knew I had the speed. I had to take a couple laps, see how my car would handle during dirty air. It felt good for the most part. I know how to brake a little bit earlier, turn it, rotate it a little better, and then get that drive on the exit. So once I got that clean air, though, man, that car felt amazing.
Yes, and it looked very good, Scott, in that clean air. One popular question here, what was going through your mind when Jacob Smith tried to undercut you there in the final pit stop?
I mean, I knew I had the speed. It was all about getting into that pit road safely without getting any penalties and exiting without, getting any penalties. So I knew I had the speed, so I wasn't worried about that too much. But it was a good move by him, though.
Well, it looked like that was the only hairy moment that you had, was that entry there with a little bit of traffic on that spin there going into that last pit stop. But as far as this season goes, I know it was a little bit of a slower start, but the second half of the season, you just absolutely came alive, and it's 11 of the last 13 races finishing in the top 10. What do you attribute to that kind of strong performance that you had in the second season building to this championship?
A lot of practice. A lot of it. So whenever I got the chance to just practice, and practicing my consistency with the pedals, steering, stuff like that. Also going into official races, practicing on that as well. So all that contributes to that. So coming into this race, I felt pretty good.
Well, we'll give you a chance here before we let you go, just to give a thanks to anybody that you feel like here, champ.
I'd like to thank you guys. You guys do an amazing job broadcasting. My team, RSR, I appreciate their help in and out. Also, I'd like to thank Cricrete, Valvoline, friends and family. So that's who I'd like to thank tonight.
Well, Scott, season champion, $1,000, a button box coming your way, that title. But of all the sweetest things, you are the champion of the 2021 Season 1. Congratulations. And we'll let you go celebrate with your team here before we start it up again next month.
Hell yeah. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a good night.
All right, man. You too. I would say that's a pretty safe bet there for a good night there for you, Scott. But congratulations again.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
So there you have it. Season in the books, and it ends with Scott Healy, your 2021 Season 1 SRN Cup Series champion, as we take a look at our Season 2 schedule. And yes, the playoffs are back, and it ends similarly in Atlanta to close out the season. But when we fire it back up, it's going to the Daytona Oval for our first race of the season. Pretty traditional start there on that super speedway to kick it off there, Aaron.
Yes, it's a very traditional start. So it mimics the NASCAR schedule. They start at Daytona. It makes sense that we start at Daytona, but what are your thoughts looking at this schedule here, Brandon?
You know, I love seeing that Charlotte Roval. That's a track I actually enjoy that maybe not many do, but excited to see a couple of new tracks out here that we didn't get to run here this season. We got Indy there. We ran there for the All-Star race. Watkins Glen showing up. We also got Nashville and Pocono showing up, so these are going to be some new tracks that we didn't see this season that might throw a little twist into season number 2 here as we get ready for that in mid-July. So we got about a month off. Then we'll be back for more coverage here on the Speed Racing Network, where for Aaron and Brandon and for Sean, our producer tonight, who also kicked off this broadcast, thank you for that. But at Speed Racing Network, we always want to remind you to always go faster.